Hey everyone, David Beebe here. Welcome back to my guitar channel finally. I know it's been quite some time since the last video, but I do have a couple of excuses I'm just going to quickly list off here. Through December, I was deep in a project with Tom Quayle working on the first massive update to the iOS version of our Solo app. Now, Solo, if you don't know, is the app that we produced together for fretboard visualization and changes playing. Now you can get that over at the iOS App Store and the Google Play Store. But as I say, we've been working on the first huge update to the iOS version. We're right towards the tail end of that now. In December, we're working on a huge part of that project. Now we're in January, we're kind of tying the bow on that. And then all through Christmas and New Year, I got super sick with that flu that was going around the UK. And I feel like I've been playing catch up ever since. So yeah, I've been off the channel, but I am back with renewed vigor to finally make 2023 the year that I put some consistency and I get some traction hopefully on this platform. To kick things back off though for 2023, I've done a bit of a half joking, half serious collab with John Nathan Cordy, good friend of mine and the hardest working YouTube guitarist I know. He and his wife have just had a baby, so by way of a bit of a congratulations and a gift from me, I decided to produce a video in the style of him and kind of cosplay and take the piss a little bit, and so he could have the morning off. If you know John, he does like 2 or 3 videos a day, and so yeah, I've decided to give myself a bit of a fun project there. So over on his channel right now, there should be a lesson featuring yours truly on a legato lick based on the track that you heard at the beginning of this video, and that's kind of part 1. And I thought over on my channel I would do a part 2 and break down another lick from that improvised solo. And it's covering somewhat similar ground, this idea of transitioning across the fretboard or compressing and expanding, concertina type effect. So go and watch the video and the lesson over on John's channel. It's perhaps a little bit easier than this one. This one, as I've transcribed, it's a little bit trickier. I think if you get the concepts that are over on the lesson video on John's channel, and then this one might be a bit a bit easier to grasp. So as usual, I will take you through the lick, break it down, show you how to play it, the fingerings that I'm using, etc., and how to work on it to build it up to speed and incorporate it into your playing. So let's get started. In the improvised spirit of what John does over on his channel, I limited myself to 4 improvised takes of the intro solo jam, and I tried to squeeze in a couple of these compression and expansion ideas that I sort of use within my playing a fair amount, because I think they're incredibly useful for having a different approach to getting around the neck. Now, where this all came from for me was when I was first learning to play this kind of style of legato, and I was using Tom Quayle's awesome modern legato courses, I found myself in a bit of a strange technical position because I developed the ability to play in position really quite smooth, fast, and with, to feeling different subdivisions. But then every time I wanted to sort of change position, I would revert to a sort of more traditional old-fashioned kind of slippy, slidey way of getting around the fretboard, like a kind of Satriani kind of style legato. And that kind of breaks the flow of what I guess I was trying to achieve. And I remember Tom pointing this out to me once, I think it was in Spain, that, yeah, I needed to work on this idea of transitioning stuff smoothly between positions. So let me just give an example of what I'm talking about here. So in position, this is an exercise I remember being particularly useful. Going... So in position like that, I was kind of fine being able to switch subdivisions, being able to play to the grid, and you doing the technique and everything. But when it came to moving around, if I wanted to shift position, I would then get this kind of effect, like... You see that? You hear that slide there going from... bridging those two positions. It's that slippy slide that breaks the illusion of the consistency and the timing of that kind of legato playing. So what I did was I kind of went back to the drawing board when it came to moving around the neck and tried to start piecing together little exercises and little etudes and things that would help me be able to span and bridge the gap where you essentially expand out, compress in, so you can blur the edges so the listener can't tell where the movement and the transitions are. Now, how this differs from the other lick is that we're not just on the same strings moving all the way up and not just sequencing something diatonically. We're actually kind of descending in pitch but going this way on the fretboard. So I'm starting the lick on the higher strings, on the G and the B string, and then I'm kind of descending in pitch but ascending the fretboard, and it creates this kind of diagonal transition line. And this is something I really, really like in a lot of the kind of playing that I do and playing that I listen to. So if I play it very, very slowly, so it's overall the line is descending down in pitch, but it's ascending diagonally on the fretboard, like going from here through up to like here. And that's the kind of idea. So I'll do it again. And every time that I sort of am transitioning every other couple of strings, I'm sort of expanding out and compressing in, expanding out and compressing in. So in theory, you shouldn't be able to tell where those kind of gaps are. So that's the basic idea. And I'm going to talk through a little bit more about how to approach physically doing this as we work our way through the lick. But let's just get into the lick itself, and I'll start teaching you the notes and the fingerings. And yeah, let's dive into it. One more thing to say. When I was transcribing this, I realized, as always with these things when I'm improvising, I don't perfectly nail it. So the transcribed version is a little bit different towards the end. I just kind of tidied it up and just got it back into 30-second notes because I kind of drift out a little bit. And you can hear that in the intro track on this lesson video where I punch in in this top, just to sort of play it again just before the outro. So that's what I'm going to teach you, and that's what will be notated in the PDF file linked in the description below. So we're in G major, C Lydian, E natural minor, however you want to think about it. Well, basically we're just oscillating between these two chords, C and D, so I guess there's a kind of a modal implication, but we won't go down that road just now. So we're going to start on the G string on the 4th fret, and I'm going to use, and I think you should use too, your middle finger. And we're going to go like this. So I'm hammering on from G4 to G5, pulling back off to G4 and pulling off to G2. Get this. Oh, I should say here we're in 30-second notes. Now you can play this as slow as you like. You can think in 16th or 8th. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, of how to feel this stuff. So we've got, and we roll back up to 5 again. So I hammer back onto 4, hammer back onto 5. So in total, the notes on this string go. Now we've got the first descending arpeggio, compression and expansion. So I'm going to hybrid pick onto the B string and play B3, and then come down this G major arpeggio. So I've got G4 and then D5. So straight basic descending of a G major arpeggio. So in total so far we've got, and that's a hybrid on the B string, B3, and then an up pick on G4 and an up pick on D5. So just so far we have, I'm going to finish this off by pulling off, compressing my finger in and pulling off to the D string fret 4. So here's the first sort of like hiding of the seams, if you like. I've got this compressing in is going to allow me to expand out and get to the next part. So I've got, I've done this compression, I'm going to expand out into the next part. So I've got, and there's another little compression there. So I'll talk you through those notes. So I've got hammering on to D5, D7, hammer on. Then I go into G4, come down an E minor arpeggio, so this is D5, and then A7, compressing to A5, and pull off. So. Okay, so putting those two beats together so far, we have. We're now going into the 3rd beat, and this is where it's a little bit trickier, and you've got to compress in and be really thoughtful and controlled with the hand. So onto this 3rd beat, we're going to hammer onto A7, hammer onto A9, compress in to D7 with the index finger, come down this D arpeggio, so come down to A9 and then low E10, and then we're pulling off, compressing in again to low E8, expanding out to low E10, and then hammering on to E12. So it goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is the hardest bit of this whole lick for me. It requires a lot of control and thought and good finger placement, really. So putting all that together again from the beginning, we have. What you have to really do here is be really clear in leading with both your index and your pinky, and making sure that the fingers are not getting left behind. So as you're coming in, so I'm going to do it one more time from the beginning. Okay, now here, I need to hammer on. Now as I'm hammering onto my pinky finger, I need to make sure that the index is compressing in and not letting it get left behind. So. So as I've gone on to hammer to the A9 with the little finger, the index is compressed in like that, ready to be able to come down the D major arpeggio. So once more that beat 3 goes. So Okay, going on to beat 4 for this first bar. We are now sort of ascending up a little bit. We're going on to, in this position, we're now coming down onto the A string on fret 10. Then we're coming hybrid fingering on the 9th fret of the D string, hammering onto the 12th of the D, pulling off to the 9th, hammering onto the 10th, hammering onto the 12th, and we've got 9 on the G, and then 10 on the D. And this is starting to coming down an A minor arpeggio. So once more, for that beat 4, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'll just put all that together, all of this first bar. So we have beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, 4, put it together without the breaks. Now I'll actually just play it at half time with the drum beat so you can hear it more in context. You see that real quick compression in there around the sort of 7th and 9th area in beat 3. That's the one to really focus on. Okay, so we're halfway through, so let's move on to learning the second bar. Now we are completing this descension of an A minor arpeggio that we started in the previous bar on the last beat. So what we're going to do is, I've got an up pick on the 12th fret of the A string, then I compress in and pull off to my index finger on fret 10, expand out and hammer on to fret 12, the A string, and hammer on to fret 14 of the A string. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, it's the first half of this beat. And then go down onto the D string fret 12, the down pick, and then hybrid pick on the 11th fret of the G string, hammer on to 14 of the G string, and then pull off to 11 of the G string. Those are the next 4 notes. So that beat, all 8 notes together, gets... Once more. So moving on to the next beat, the next 8 notes, we're going to go into a bit more of a scalic idea here, and we do have a bit of a tricky hand fingering decision to make that's coming up. So the notes are, I'm going to be hammering on, coming from fret 11 on the G string and hammering onto fret 12 on the G with my second finger, so I'm going to have that, and then hammering onto 14 on the G, coming down now onto the B string, fret 12, hammering onto 13, hammering onto 15, on the B string. Then we go on to the high E string, and here's where we have to kind of make a fingering decision. For me, I'm going to sort of shift from doing a 1 finger per fret now to kind of stretching back out to having my stretching 3 fingers across 4 frets. So I'm going to go like this on the high E string, the fret 12 with the index finger, fret 15, hammering onto fret 15 with the 3rd finger, pulling back off to fret 12 again. So I've got this 3 finger stretch across 4 frets here. We did have that at the start of the lick, sort of came in towards a more traditional kind of 1 finger per fret through the middle part. Then we back on towards the end of the lick with this 3 finger stretch across 4 frets. So let me just play that through all these 8 notes on this beat. So we've got... Okay, moving into the penultimate beat now, these 8 notes, we're going to have... So I'm hammering on to 14 on the high E string with my 2nd finger, 15 on the high E string with my 3rd finger, pulling off the direction that we came, so back to 14, back to 12. Then I'm going to go on to the B string on fret 15, skipping back up and hybrid to the high E string fret 12, and then coming back again to 15 on the B, and then coming down to 14 on the G. So we get this. Okay, So I'm going to put all that together now, those 3 beats of this second bar, and we get this. Okay, so we're on to the last beat, these last 8 notes now, and this is going to have a little bit of a wider stretch again, and it's going to sound like this. So I'm pulling off to 12 on the G, coming back onto 14 on the G. This is my second finger here. Then I'm coming down to 15 on the B, then high E 12, big stretch up to 17 on the high E, pull back off to 12, come down to 15 on the B, pulling off to 12, and then what do? Oh yeah, I bend on the 15 on the B string. So that last beat, putting it all together, we get this. I'm just sticking on as the pickup note there, the last note of the previous beat. Then I've got a big bend there on the 15th fret with the B. So I'll play all of that bar together slowly out of context, grouping them so you can hear where the groupings are. Then I'll play it with the drum beat, and then we're going to put the whole thing together. So from beat 1 of this second bar, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1. So I'll now play the whole of that second bar together with the drum beat and in context. Okay, so all that's left for us to do is to glue the first and second bar together. So that's the full lick. Now I'll see if I can do it again at full speed. So okay, so that's the lick, how to play it, and some of the thinking behind the lesson, both on John's channel and what I've been doing here today. Now, a few things to bear in mind just before we wrap up. As always, if you want to play this as is, then really work on it, slow and accurate rather than fast and sloppy. It's a bit of a cliche that I say that now, but it really does make the world of difference, especially for building this kind of long-term technical control of your left and right hand, but predominantly with the left we're working on here. And the other thing to talk about is that this is a predetermined, like transcribed lick I'm teaching to you here for the technical aspect of like kind of getting around the fretboard in this style. I improvised this, as I say, and this is based off of like hundreds and thousands of hours of practicing various different permutations very slowly. If I was to do it again, it would be slightly different. Now, this is all dependent, highly dependent on fretboard knowledge, because if you can't see your way around the neck in any given harmonic area really, really quickly and efficiently and smoothly, then you're not going to be able to do this, because you have such a small amount of time, such a small window on each note, on each fret, and each position before you've got to move across again. If you can't see like the fretboard lit up with all the harmonic possibilities, intervallic possibilities, and maneuver through them slowly with the technique, you won't be able to do this fast. So there's a number of different levels to what we're looking at today. This is primarily a technical one to start thinking about really making seamless gaps between transitioning across the neck when you're in a particular subdivision, a very in-time subdivision. Improvising with this is a whole other ballgame that I'm not going to cover in this lesson today. Maybe I will in the future. But it really is highly dependent on your fretboard knowledge. And to tie this back to a bit of a plug, if you want to develop your fretboard knowledge, your ability to really see the neck intervallically and eventually learn the skills to be able to do what I'm talking about with an improvised fashion here, then you could check out the Solo app that Tom and I developed. And this will teach you to be able to see the neck intervallically and train you to be able to move around in a super efficient intervallic way. So the links to that are in the description, both for the iOS version and the Google Play Store version. And let me know how you get on with it. Do go over to John's channel, watch that other lesson. Wishing congratulations on the birth of his daughter Elodie. And yeah, other things that you could do is check out my website. I sell lessons over there, courses over at davidbb.com, and of course the Guitar Hour podcast, which should also be on its way back very soon. Okay, well, until next time, guys, and I will see you in another video. Bye-bye.